Good morning. Give me a second here. I'm preparing my nominations for the Herald-Mail's annual Reader's Choice Awards. Is it uncouth to vote for yourself as hottest bachelor? Okay. The restaurant section was easy. I just voted Waffle House for everything. The following comments are taken from editions of Mail Call printed in the Herald-Mail from June 29 to July 11, and which can be viewed online in their entirety at www.herald-mail.com. If the Miss Maryland Pageant isn't a beauty pageant, why do the contestants have to parade across the stage in a two-piece bikini? Wouldn't a business casual suit be more appropriate for a scholarship pageant? Hagerstown. Scholarship pageant. That's a good one. I hadn't heard that one before. That reminds me. Best Titty Club, Miss Maryland Pageant. Alan Powell always projects his flawed agenda by bait and switch. Darwin never discovered a transitional form of life from one species to another. Character is not the question. Do Darwin's proponents have the character to accurately portray his thinking on evolution? Darwin said if it could be proven that evolution was not the result of slight changes over long periods of time, his theory crashed. The theory of intelligent design in unlocking the mystery of life is a legitimate response to anything Alan Powell can come up with to maintain ancient, worthless science. Martinsburg. I do another video series on refuting tired old creationist arguments, and I'm sure I'll get to this no transitional fossils argument eventually, but I saw this comment and I just couldn't pass it up. Darwin never discovered a transitional form, or at least anything that he personally identified as a transitional form. That much is true. Fortunately, for the theory of evolution, we've had 150 years since Darwin to keep looking, and we've found quite a few things that confirm his hypothesis that life as we see it today is the result of evolution through common descent, slight changes through long periods of time. If you would like an example of such a transitional species, they're relatively easy to come by. In fact, pretty much every extinct species ever discovered could be an intermediate between an earlier form and a more recent form. That's how evolution works. There aren't special transitional species. There isn't a single missing link, for instance, between modern humans and our more ape-like ancestors, something that is exactly half human and half ape. That's not the way it works. It's gradual change. There are many intermediate steps between us and our distant, more ape-like ancestors. None of this is hypothetical, by the way. This is all scientific fact, backed up by evidence, confirmed by work by scientists in many different fields. And Martinsburg, if you had taken a first-year college biology course, you wouldn't have to be hearing about this, apparently for the first time, from me. Senator Byrd passed away, one of the great senators the world has ever known. If he was president of the U.S. today, we wouldn't have the garbage we got in there now. Martinsburg. I think I'll just let that one speak for itself. I'm calling about the Hagerstown caller who's talking about the hottest... No, you know what? Fuck that. What was the point of printing that last call? Yes, that one. We wouldn't have the garbage we got in there now. I'm all for engaging people with ugly ideas, all right? I think the only way to fight bigotry is to answer it, to challenge it. But what is the point of giving a racist like this an anonymous voice in the newspaper? He's not making a point. He's not responding to a previous caller. He's not asking a question. He's just spitting venom. Say, if Senator Byrd, noted reformed Klansman, were president, we wouldn't have to suffer the humiliation of being governed by a black man. Fuck the anonymous asshole who called that in, and fuck whoever it was at Mail Call who decided it was going to go in the newspaper. Now, where was I? I'm calling about the Hagerstown caller who's talking about the hottest June on record and saying he doesn't hear people talking about global warming now. The previous record was set in 1899, so what was global warming doing then? The Industrial Revolution had just begun, so there was no carbon footprint on the world at that point, So let's think about the natural history of weather before we speak. Hagerstown. I've been thinking about this too the last few days. Here in the eastern United States, we've had a major heat wave. Temperatures way up in the 90s, day after day after day for the last couple of weeks. And I remembered this past winter when there were commenters in Mail Call and a few people who have their own nationally syndicated, highly rated radio and television programs who looked at all the snow we got and kind of snorted and said, how about this global warming? As though getting lots of snow in the middle of winter somehow countered the mountain of evidence suggestive of global warming. What are all those people thinking now, I wonder? I mean, if they thought that snowy winter days refuted global warming, do they now take these scorching summer days as proof that global warming is real? It makes sense. It is the rational conclusion to that argument. If cold winter days refutes global warming, then don't scorching hot summer days confirm that global warming is real? Isn't that right? Probably not, actually. Those people are idiots. I used to watch Glenn Beck when he was on Headline News, and he really had a good show. And then I couldn't figure out why Headline News fired him. And then I saw his show the other day. I see why they fired him. He's completely nuts. Anybody that takes seriously Glenn Beck or Rush Limbaugh at their word is about 3 bricks shy of a load. Hagerstown. This caller brings up a really interesting point about Glenn Beck. Isn't it interesting that he didn't get nearly this much mainstream attention until he made the jump from Headline News to Fox News? Well, I have a thought about that. Headline News is a spin-off network of CNN, a channel which still makes some token effort every once in a while towards serious journalism. So while he was on Headline News, Glenn's more hysterical tendencies were reined in. I mean, he still said some crazy shit, like asking newly elected Representative Keith Ellison, who happens to be a Muslim, if he was working with America's enemies, but he wasn't nearly as nuts as he would shortly become. In fact, I would guess during his Headline News period, Glenn was about 25% nuts. Then he moved over to Fox News, which claims it's a serious, right-down-the-middle news outlet, though it can never quite keep a straight face. And they just turned him loose. They told him to release his inner kook, which had been struggling beneath the surface all this time. And now that he's on Fox News, the whole world can see, yes, as you pointed out, Hagerstown, Glenn Beck is completely nuts. And finally, here's this from Hagerstown about guns. But whoever has a purse or bag must take it, and whoever does not have a sword must sell his cloak and buy one. Jesus Christ. Luke chapter 22, verse 36. When a strong man, fully armed, guards his house, his possessions are safe. Jesus Christ. Luke chapter 11, verse 21. The only thing that separates the American Christian from every other person on earth is the fact that he would rather die on his feet than lie on his knees. George Washington. 2 quotes from Jesus that he probably never actually said, and 1 quote from George Washington, whose religious beliefs are the subject of serious debate among historians, neither of which refer to guns at all, despite being introduced as about guns. Nicely done, Hagerstown. Oh, and I know it's a typo, but I just can't resist. I have known some American Christians who I think would be willing to die on their feet for a just cause, but I have known many who are perfectly happy to lie on their knees, to themselves in particular. Thanks for watching.